Chapter 14. The Funny Old Saucepan Man. "I don't think he's at all dangerous," said Fanny. "He has quite a kind face." "Let's tap on the window," said Bessie. So she tapped, but the saucepan man took no notice. He just went on dancing away, crashing his saucepans together. Joe tapped loudly. The saucepan man caught sight of him at the window and looked most astonished. He stopped dancing and went to the door. "Come in and dance," he said. No thank you," said Joe. "We've just come to ask you out for tea." "Ask me out for a bee?" said the saucepan man, looking surprised. "I'm so sorry, but I don't keep bees, only saucepans." "Not bees," said Joe. "To ask you out to tea." "But I don't want to go to sea," said Saucepan Man. "I don't like the water at all. Never did. Very kind of you, I'm sure, but I hate the sea." "No, not the sea, but tea, tea, tea," cried Joe. "Oh, tea," said the Saucepan Man. "Well, why didn't you say that before, and then I should have understood?" "I did say it before," said poor Joe. "What? Shut the door?" said the Saucepan Man. "Certainly, if you want to. Give it a push." "He can't hear very well," said Fanny. "He must be deaf." "No, I'm not," said the Saucepan Man, hearing perfectly all of a sudden. "Not a bit deaf. Only sometimes, when my saucepans have been crashing around me rather a lot, I get noise in my ears afterwards, but I'm not deaf." "I'm glad of that," said Joe politely. "Cat?" "No, I haven't got a cat," said the Saucepan Man, looking around. "Did you see one?" "I didn't say anything about a cat," said Joe patiently. "You did, I heard you," said the Saucepan Man, vexed. "I don't encourage cats. I keep mice instead. I shall look for the cat." And then, with his saucepans clanging around him, he began to look for a cat that certainly wasn't there. "Puss, puss, 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 puss," he called. "There's no cat in your house," shouted Moonface. "Mouse? Where did you see a mouse?" said the old man, alarmed. "I wouldn't like one of my mice to be caught by that cat." "I tell you, we haven't got a cat," cried Joe, feeling quite cross. "We've come to tell you about your friend, Mr. What's-his-name." For a wonder, the Saucepan Man heard Joe, and had at once stopped, looking for his cat. "Mr. What's-his-name?" he cried. "Where is he? He's a great friend of mine." "Well, we'd like you to go and have tea with him, then," said Joe. "Yes, certainly I would," said the Saucepan Man. "Please tell me where he is." "He's sitting on the ladder leading from the faraway tree to your land," shouted Joe. "He's waiting there." "Yes, for me?" said Moonface in a whisper. "Shh!" said Fanny. The Saucepan Man gave a yell of joy when he heard where his old friend was, and he set off for the cliff, shouting in delight, "Hurrah! I've come to the faraway tree, and I can see my friend again, and Mr. What's-his-name is waiting for me to have tea with him. Come on, come on." Up the cliff he went, treading on the saucepan steps, his own saucepans and kettles rattling and banging all around him. The children and Moonface followed the Saucepan Man. The children and Moonface followed. The Saucepan Man ran helter-skelter to the hole. The Saucepan Man ran helter-skelter to the hole. That led down the topmost branch of the faraway tree, dropping a few saucepans along the way. When he got there, he peered down and saw Mr. What's-his-name sitting on the ladder, watching for Moonface. But the Saucepan Man didn't know that, of course. He thought that his friend was waiting for him. "Hey, hey!" he yelled, dropping a saucepan on top of Mr. What's-his-name in his excitement. "Hey, old friend!" Mr. What's-his-name watched the saucepan bounce off his foot down the branch of the faraway tree and wondered who it would hit. He looked up in amazement when he heard his friend shout. "Saucepan!" he yelled. "Dear old saucepan! Fancy seeing you!" "Glue?" said the saucepan man, suddenly hearing all wrong again. "Glue? No, I've not got glue with me, but I can soon make some for you." Still the same silly old saucepan man, aren't you?" cried Mr. What's-his-name. "Come down here. I didn't say anything about glue. Come and have a cup of tea with me. The kettle's boiling." "I don't want oiling," said the saucepan man, though he really sounded as if he should be. He was so full of clangs and clatters. "I'll come and have tea and a talk with you. Hurrah!" He put his foot on the ladder, but unfortunately he stepped on a kettle that had got round his leg, and down he went, clatter, bang, crash, smash, clang. Mr. What's-his-name caught at him as he went past, and down he went too, rolling off the ladder, down the branch, past Moonface's door, and down the tree. "There they go," said Moonface, in delight, all mixed up with kettles and saucepans. "What a joke! They'll give old Mother Washalot a fright if they fall into her washing tub." The children laughed till they cried. The old saucepan man was really so funny, and they couldn't imagine what people in the tree would think as he rolled down with such clanging and banging. "It's quite safe to go down now," said Joe, peering down the ladder. "They've disappeared. I shouldn't wonder if they're at the bottom of the tree by now. Come on, Moonface." So down the ladder they all went, slid down the topmost branch, and opened Moonface's door. Silky was still there, looking scared out of her life. She gave a scream of joy when she saw them. "Why are you looking so frightened?" asked Moonface, giving her a hug. "Oh, goodness, a thunderbolt or something fell out of the sky just now and rolled crashing down the tree," said Silky. "That was only the saucepan man and Mr. What's-his-name," said Joe, laughing, and he told her the whole story. Silky laughed till her sides ached. She ran out of the door and peeked down the tree. "Look," she said, pointing. "Can you see far down there between the branches?" They all looked, and they saw Mr. What's-his-name and old saucepan man climbing painfully up to Mr. What's-his-name's home, both talking together at the top of their voices. "They've forgotten all about us," said Joe joyfully. "Now, for goodness sake, Moonface, don't go putting acorns into Mr. What's-his-name's mouth again. Let's have something to eat, and then we must go home. Down your slippery slip." So they all five sat around Moonface's funny round room and ate some pot biscuits that Silky fetched, and drank acornade, which was made of acorns, which was most delicious. Then it was time for the children to go, and they chose cushions, sat on the top of the big tree slide, pushed off and flew down the inside of the tree, sliding around and around and around, till they shot out of the trapdoor at the bottom, on the cushion of moss. Then they ran home as fast as they could, for they were late. "I expect the old saucepan man's gone back to his strange little land now," said Joe, as they turned to their gate. But he hadn't. He came to see them the very next day, his saucepans clanging so loudly that Mother looked quite alarmed. "Whoever in the world is that?" she said, as the saucepan man came to the gate.